Steroids in sports. Drug use in sports is a modern problem. Starting in Greece, athletes have been using drugs and other substances to enhance performance for thousands of years. In ancient Greece, athletes participating in the first Olympic Games gorged themselves on meat before competing. The creatine and testosterone in meat gave athletes strength and boosted their performances. Athletes choose to take steroids to enhance performance, but in the long run, steroids can cause medical problems that will affect the body. Granted, steroids improve athletic ability and give athletes edge during competition. In baseball, they help the athletes hit home runs more. In the game of football, they boost the athletes' overall strength and abilities and make them perform way better than they had before. However, highly competitive people need to win even if you could cause damage to their careers or even in their lives. There are very few high school students that will go pro. Only 0.3% of men's basketball players will go on to play professional basketball. Only 0.2% of women's basketball will go from high school to professional leagues. In other sports, the statistics are just as discouraging. Only 0.8% of football players, 0.51% of baseball participants, and 0.10% men's ice hockey skaters, and 0.3% of men's soccer teams in high school athletics will go beyond that level of competition into professional leagues. The professional athletes expect to make tremendous amounts of money, which could be another reason why athletes are risking everything to be top competitors. The average professional athlete makes about $5.15 million in the NBA, $3.31 million in MLB, and $2.4 million in NHL, and $1.9 million in the NFL. The better the athletes perform in the professional sports leagues, the more money they are likely to make. Athletes can be so greedy for money that they risk their lives by taking performance-enhancing chemicals such as steroids. Steroid use was not a problem 60 years ago. Only amateur athletic competitions were watched during the times before 1840. There were no professional athletics before 1840. People went out to watch the amateur games in person. The start of organized sports in the United States came about with the establishment of the New York Knickerbockers basketball club in the beginning of the 1840s. The Knickerbockers, a social club, much like a modern country club, was composed of professional men such as doctors, lawyers, and well-to-do entrepreneurs. In the early years, new members were voted in only by approval of the club's members. The group formed the first known baseball club. One writer stated, "This was the first time in American history that grown men put on costumes and played a child's game." Since the Knickerbockers were formed, professional athletics have grown tremendously. It is true that steroids can be used to enhance athletes' performances. Steroids cause the body to form more muscle mass, and they also strengthen bones. They are also capable of masking pain so that the athlete may perform better. Anabolic steroids are a man-made drug which was intended to treat amnesia and diseases that destroyed muscle. When doctors prescribe steroid, it is mostly to treat patients with a special disorder. On the other hand, the doctor will give the steroids in the lowest possible dose so that it minimizes the negative side effects. The doctor knows that giving a patient steroid is putting them at risk for serious side effects, so the doctor takes precautions. Athletes who have taken steroids have had many different side effects, whether it was to their body or what they did as an athlete. Lance Armstrong was a professional cyclist who won 7 Tour de France titles and inspired others with his story about being a cancer survivor. Lance even got his own company, Livestrong, promoting the fight against cancer. Although in 2012 the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency took away all 7 of Armstrong's Tour de France titles, as well as other honors he received from 1999 to 2005. They also banned him from cycling for life after they had found out that Armstrong had used banned performance-enhancing substances during those years. This is just one of many athletes that have gotten caught for doping, and these are the negative effects of using steroids, because anything and everything can be taken away in a blink of an eye. There are many short-term side effects that athletes do not take into account when using steroids. The short-term side effects are more immediate, which come with many different problems. One of the most general short-term effects is acne. When acne is already present, it becomes more severe, such as multiplying to more areas of the body. Steroids enlarge the glands in the skin and then cause the glands to increase production of oil. The increased semifluid of the glands leads to obstruction of skin pores. Another side effect in both men and women shows evidence that roid rage or aggression can lead to stress or violence. Short-term effects can lead to more serious problems in the future when steroids are used for long periods of time. As there may be many short-term effects, long-term effects are more severe. One of the long-term effects could be HIV, which is human immunodystrophin virus, picked up by sharing needles or by unprotected sexual activity. Another long-term effect is cardiovascular problems such as heart is put under more pressure to provide blood to more muscle tissues, which processing greater levels of bad cholesterol. Liver is another long-term side effect due to blood-filled sites replacing liver tissue, causing the sites to create tumors which can be undetected and can be life-threatening. Due to the severe conditions, athletes should have regulations on steroid use. There are many regulations on steroids that have been implemented throughout the history. Since 1975, steroids were banned in the Olympics by the International Olympic Committee. Years went on and promoted sales began to rise. Finally, in 1988, a major regulation was introduced from the Anti-Drug Abuse Act. As of February 7, 1991, the Anabolic Steroid Control Act of 1990 placed anabolic steroids in Schedule III, which is a category of less probable drugs for abuse of addiction. Education concerning steroids before use would be proper guidelines for all professional athletes using steroids. Intervention should start at a young age to prevent all athletes from using any kind of steroids. Some intervention would be to have a speaker come to schools and introduce the side effects of these anabolic steroids. The speaker could bring an individual that has been using anabolic steroids to discuss his feelings and struggles with them. The speaker could also show pictures of the negative side effects of steroids to show them maturing kids what will happen to them if they may decide to use steroids. Athletes choose to take steroids to enhance performances, but in the long run, steroids can cause medical problems that will affect the body. The highly competitiveness within athletes will cause them to do whatever it takes to win, even if it damages their career or even if their lives are at stake. Athletes can be so greedy for money that they will risk their lives by taking performance-enhancing chemicals such as steroids. Steroid use was not a problem until 60 years ago, and since the New York Knickerbockers were formed, professional athletics have been grown tremendously. Athletes who have taken steroids have many different side effects, whether it was to their body or what they did as an athlete. The short-term side effects can take weeks to years to become in effect. Short-term effects can lead to more serious problems in the future when steroids are used for long periods of time. As there may be many short-term effects, the long-term effects are more severe. Due to the severe conditions, athletes should have regulations on steroid use. Due to the regulations on anabolic steroids, athletes need to be educated properly. There is no exception to professional athletes in the use of steroids. If so, there should be immediate action. Thanks for watching.